Hello, and welcome to the Letta Books Export Market webinar, Exporting to France. I'm Christy Doucette, Programs Manager, and I'll be here to facilitate the webinar. It should take about 60 minutes, and we'll have set aside some time at the end for your questions. We'll be taking questions via the Q&A function in WebEx, found at the right-hand part of your screen. So feel free to submit questions throughout the webinar, and we'll collect them for the Q&A session at the end. You will also receive a copy of the presentation following the event. If you have any problems or have any questions relating to the WebEx platform, please message me as the host via the chat function on WebEx. I'm now going to introduce our presenter, Nikki Atanasi. After legal studies specializing in copyright, as well as vocational training for careers in publishing, Nikki managed rights sales at De Noël Group Gallimard for 10 years. An active participant in cross-industry arts organizations, she has always taught in university or adult education settings. She then created Mon Agent et Compagnie in October 2010. Welcome, Nikki, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Christy. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, good morning, or I don't know, it's 7 o'clock in France. I'm very happy to be with you. I apologize in advance sometimes for my English. I have to focus, and then we'll start the webinar about France in 5 parts. I will present briefly the agency, and then we'll speak a little bit more, of course, about the French book market overview, with facts, figures, and some personal opinions on the history of our publishing industry. Then we'll make some sum up about rights prospection methods and negotiation. This is, for me, a way to spot out some specificities from you to us, because this is quite special. I have to ask a question at this stage. I think most of you are publishing exclusively in English, but some of you are making a bit of French language books also. Maybe you can answer that in the chat part or in, I don't know. Then we'll make in the same spirit to sort out the specificities, a little sum up of the rights agreements and its main points. So let's begin with us. The agency, Mon Agent et Compagnie, was created 7 years ago. Christy told you I'm specialized in copyright law, French and American English law. And then I spent 10 years in the Gallimard Group. I was rights director of Édition de Noël, which is a big and general publishing house. It was fantastic, and I've quit Paris just to quit Paris, because Paris is a nice but impressive city, and I built my agency in Chambéry, in Savoie, near the Alps. Milena, who is with me and joined the agency 4 years ago, is from Italy first, and this is important. We are selling rights around the world. Most important for me, she was for 10 years a bookstore manager here in Chambéry, in a very big bookstore. And this is very important too. It provides a different point of view in the agency. And then Magali come from the event, and she's assisting us in every part, including rights and publishing. We are also representing a few authors, and I think this one gives me a special view on the French market, especially on the international market. Then, let's start with a big and sometimes impressive, but it's not, French book market. And we'll try to make an overview in 3 parts. The French market situation. Some developments are very important nowadays. Of course, I will try to make a publishing group's short presentation. And then the third part may surprise you, because I know that some of you are very eager to hear about distribution and everything in France. I decided to make this a part of an overview. You will understand why later. And to reassure you, can I say, yeah, I think it's a good point. I will send in the chat part some links. And the first one is this one. It will be very, very useful and complete for you, and it's in English. This is a special issue of our biggest professional magazine, Livre Hebdo, made last year for Frankfurt, and to announce, of course, France guest of honor for Frankfurt this year. This is a big issue. You will be the guest of honor in 2020, so of course, this webinar could be a good opportunity to increase your rights, your rights energy, and to start something to prepare this big rendezvous. The link, because I'm speaking and I forget the link. Sorry, all attendees. And here is the link. This is a free issue. You can upload it in PDF and read it all long. So, the French market situation. We have, and I think that most of you know that, a very special environment, legal environment, since the 80s, because we were one of the first countries to make a very special policy about prices for books. This is called Loi Lang, and we'll speak a little bit about it later in my conclusion. So the consequence is quite important for publishers here and bookstores, because first you can make discounts like in America or that kind of country whenever you want, and that's the percentage you want. This is really organized by law, and the links also between booksellers and publishers are quite organized and try to get a very qualitative aspect on it. Well, it's only the law, and we'll speak a little bit later also about the distributors and all that aspect in France. I think personally that this law is very good and have lots of positive aspects, including protecting creation and the authors, because we'll speak again about this later more precisely, but the fixed price in France means that the author knows in what kind of yet, Christy, I don't know the term in English, if you can help me, but he can have a view on his remuneration more precise than in a US market, for example. In 2014, we just adopt a new law about digital rights. This is a very, very good law, and I'm quite not so easy to satisfy about law, especially for the authors. This law was created after 4 years of big work between publishers and author trade unions. Authors since the years 2000, I think we should say, are really trying to organize themselves and to defend their profession in a very, very different way. And this law organizes the digital era of the contracts, notably, and will include a complete update of our intellectual property code in the next few months. So this is a very good point. I know this is not a French touch for me. I'm just half French. You can understand that from my name, but I know that abroad French are known for their proudness. But in that aspect, we can be proud. This law is good and could be studied as a system or a model. I hope my English is okay and I'm not speaking too rapidly, that you hear me very well. Let's see now a few figures about books. You will find some of them and present and complete in the Livre Hebdo study that I've told you before. So books in France, we have a small country compared to you, but we are France, but we can notice in the first line that we have 6,000 companies that are publishing books in France, and this is a lot. Not all are living of that, but this is a lot. And we have to notice too that in those companies, of course, lots of are independent. The creativity here is very, very increasing. And for 5 or 6 years now is increasing even most because of Paris is not anymore the center of the culture, not only for books, but start for cinema and other cultural industries. That's why I created my agency. It's possible now to create a cultural thing outside Paris. And this is a good point because life in Paris is very expensive. Our jobs are not so positive in terms of remuneration. So to quit Paris is a good solution to create your cultural company. The market is stable, honestly, especially the book one. So don't believe complainers. They are strong in France, and this is a part of our ADN, genetic. But honestly, we have a good market. The book still the best gift for the French people. So why not? And the facts are pretty good for the market. We can see in the last paragraph that maybe I know that the other markets are stronger on that aspect, that paperback books are not very strong, e-books also, but we'll speak about that later. And to be noticed also because agents, literary agents, are not so useful in France, but it will change. It has started. We have the secondary rights for our authors. Publishers have that, and we have a big part of our revenue in publishing that are from rights cession and translation. Let's speak about. Sorry, I'm in my papers. I have to update myself. After that figures, let's go a bit further and analyze what is selling or not. This is some studies, and one more time you will find it very complete in the Livre Hebdo publication, and it's interesting to see it in 20 years. You can see that there has been a big revolution in 20 years. Novels now are the first genre in the sales. Of course, dictionaries and other very practical books are suffering from e-books and internet and the web organization. But now and for 5 years, the top 10 of the genre are quite stable. Novels, children books, and practical stay the top 3 for 5 or 6 years now. It's very stable. I'll let you time to see your category maybe. We are not so, and this is maybe because of the globalization and some very strong neighbor as Taschen, and Phaidon. Art and coffee table books are not so strong than in America, for example. Comic books are growing. I think that this is one of the big revolution in terms of publication. The graphic novels French genre as found is public. Essays, we'll speak about it later also, but are quite bigger. It seems that it will be bigger, and because maybe of the French theory. We'll speak about that a little bit later again. Let's speak a little bit about e-books. We are not very strong about ebooks. The market now is stable. I think myself that personally we are not nor efficient nor sufficient. The big publishing companies are not easy to move because, well, French people are connected, but French companies are not so much. It's like the old Europe. So, of course, ebook sales mean web marketing and to have a real politic about that. Strong maybe team inside or outside. Honestly, we're not, in most of the big groups, we are not very good at that. The most interesting tests are from, I think, independent companies, including one more time outside Paris. You can have a look on that kind of thing. But still, so I really don't know if it's. I think that from America, it's not the usage worldwide, but we are better to sell, of course, ebooks to professional, and that's why maybe essays and social sciences are, of course, in the first. University, bibliothèque, everything are buying ebooks for their database. So for ebook sales, years ago, oh gosh, when I arrived in publishing, another problem. We'll see bookstores later, but due to the impetus of the bookstores in France, the French publishers have made some very bad decision at the very beginning to sell their ebook. They tried for years to include the booksellers inside, which is like a nonsense, and it was, of course, something that slowed us in one way. But let's stay positive. So, because you're publishing mostly in English, I think, of course, I make a little bit about the translated language. You can be positive also, because as you see, the English language is the first one translated in France, but you will find more precise information in Livre Hebdo, and you have a little bit notice in text in the diapositive. But it's less and less because of dynamism of some very strong country in literature. Be aware that your market, I mean English language market, is trusted by those American agents, and all the publishers around the world are complaining, well, in general about agents, but in general about the number of solicitations and mails that they are receiving. We'll speak about that again later, but PDF when you receive 30 or 50 PDF per day to analyze and put in lecture, it's just impossible. So as the English is the main language in Prospection, you can see here that you have a problem to solve and to make a real politic in your rights department, a real human politic, later, for example. But this is very important to be aware that the language is not a positive point for you. I had a complete different today for the French webinar with a French-speaking publisher from Canada, because of course in that case for French publisher it's easier with because this is French, you have no translation fees, etc., etc. But yeah, well, by sector, you see that it's stable too. There is no big revolution here. Novels are first, and children and then essays are not far. Numbers from 2002, 2016. It's stable for 5 years now. Well, I have a very personal conclusion, but this is to let you know that the French market for books is good, that we just have to do a good job now. We are better than other cultural goods industries. I think deeply and maybe personally that this is one of those reasons are the unique price of the book in France. Mr. Lang, who was our French Minister of Culture in the 80s when the law was built, tried at this stage to take with him video and music industry, but I said no, we don't need that. One of the consequences, we'll see that just after, is that we have lots of independent bookstores, even in very small cities, and you can't see in France music store, even less video stores nowadays. Well, and the industry is quite good. Make a little breeze on my papers. Go through another part of the presentation of the French market. Of course, we'll enter the French publishing groups. And the first diapositive is a slow one with lots of text. This is some quotation that I not choose myself because they are the excerpt of the Livre Hebdo publication that I've told you. But I thought, preparing the webinar, that this is a good aperçu, a good taste of France, because all the ideas defended by those PDG CEO of French publishing house or officials are very different, are focused on very different points of our what we call here l'exception culturelle française. Should translate it with a French cultural exception. I think that it's not only legal. We have a big history about discovering talent. This explains why we have no agent here. Publishers, French publishers are accepting to speak about books with UK publishers, but not with us, French, with a UK agent or US agent. But they love to be in direct contact with their French authors. We have a lot in this talent discovering taste. We are publishing a lot of first novel in France. I think we are one of the first nations to do such experience every year. The French rentrée littéraire of September is a mystery for most of the world, but for us too sometimes. Why publishing so much books in a so tiny period for so less literary prices? It's like bizarre, but well, the French touch about novels is in a kind of ironic words quoted by Antoine Gallimard with the intimacy of one part of our literature, and of course the other part is exploring the world. But here we are. This is subjectivity, right? This is the good taste job worldwide. Well, let's go to. Oh, sorry, a bug in my diapositive. Here is the next one. The top 10 of the publishing industry in France. You have this 197 publishers ranking in the Livre Hebdo. They are all over 1 million. This is the topic. You can figure in this ranking if you are over the million. But that those 10, and this top 10 that you are here, is representing 87% of the turnover of the publisher listing. in this ranking. So, of course, it's quite hard in France to be independent. Be aware also that Hachette is a group in France, but in his revenue, only 40%, less than 40% is from France. The other part is from, as you know, America and Canada. Only two groups are audited, with two old groups are now managed by the family. It's Group Madrigal, Gallimard and Flammarion is the Madrigal group, directed by Antoine Gallimard himself, and Le Groupe Albin Michel, directed by Francis Esmenard, who is a family of the founder. Actes La Martinière Group are two new groups. Actes Sud, you know, is a group funded by our French Ministry of Culture. And La Martinière has also 30% of his revenue from America. But to be noticed also, France Loisirs is very important, and you can see them in this top 10. They are regrouping now all the book clubs in France. They have bought Le Grand Livre du Mois 10 years ago, and they are real publishers. They are their own collection, and they are even exclusive authors in their catalog here. It's still a big part of the French revenue in the industry for all the French publishers here. It's a big deal to have a book at France Loisirs, by France Loisirs. Okay, so this planisphère of French publishing industry. I know that this is not readable. This is just to show you this ranking. You will find those 2 pages in the Livre Hebdo publication, and you can print it more easily to read it. The blocks are relative to the revenue of the publisher. And the circles, it's very practical to know who is the diffuser, distributor of the group, or in white, the independents are quoted too. So this is a very useful mapping for rights prospection. Je vois des questions qui arrivent sur le. Oh, sorry. I see remarks and questions in the chat, or question and answer. As Christy told you, we'll see that at the end, and I won't forget to answer everyone at the end. So, at this map, this publishing industry map about publisher, let's speak about our friends, the French bookstores. They are very, very in France. It's still a very important job member of the chain for us. Some are very small, but very specialized, essential for very specialized publisher. As you can see, it's TV level. The first level are very important. Maybe you heard about very famous bookstores, even in the south of France. For example, Librairie Mola in Bordeaux, or Librairie Ombre Blanche in Toulouse. For publisher and authors, it's even more important to have an event in those big bookshops that a TV show event. And I'm not joking about that. It's like you can make like a label, choose by Mola in Bordeaux. And we have to notice also that cultural, sorry for my accent, I have to take a little bit of water. Cultural hypermarkets are developing very fast here in France. Fnac was one of the first actors in this sector 30 years ago, and is now has now many problems. There is no more real booksellers in Fnac, but Espace Culturel Leclerc and Cultura are very important. They try to be very effective and dynamics in events, and they are their choices, and they are eager to have some developments and partnerships with publishers. Sorry. Second level, of course, is important too. Supermarkets are important in terms of mise en place, distribution, but hard to work with for some genre. Of course, for literature, it's not easy, and in terms of prices too. You can sell hard books, very expensive hard books in that kind of levels. The third level means also francophonie and exports. Be aware of that for the next diapositive who give you the numbers, who makes the importance of money that makes these bookstores. And they are the third one. Everywhere in France, you can have a small, very small bookstore in a village under 1,000 inhabitants. Just because this could be a coffee library, and then you have really very precise selection. But for some independent publisher, not only specialized in local things, but they are most of the time very, very important partner. Sales. You can see that you have again, this is from Livre Hebdo publication, the facts over 20 years, which is of course very interesting, and that there is a big changement, of course, for not so much for bookshop, but for online. And that the book club are not as important than they were 20 years ago. But well, still. That the marché is equilibrium in that way. Let's still hope that I'm speedy, or I don't know. Here we are. The horrible distributor in France. I think I will give my professional as well as personal opinion right now before going further. I know that for some of you, and it was obviously even more important yesterday for French language publisher, you are eager sometimes to be distributed in France. Honestly, I'm in publishing for almost 20 years, and I do not know any French publisher satisfied by diffuser distributor. And how can I see you be more efficient with them with this big ocean problem of hours between us? They are strong. This is maybe the last domain of the book industry to reorganize. And I think that it's urgent. Most of the independents, even some very successful or quite big one, are thinking about a new way, a new system to organize that, and maybe you have to wait their creativity and good ideas to make it different. But they are strong. They are, of course, there is a desire. Sorry, I lost my word in English. It's not easy to fight when you're distributing by a big diffuser distributor, to fight against his mother house. The small one are not efficient on our market because you have to go to all the levels. The strongest one are holded by a big publishing company, that the game is not fair. I should say that softly, maybe. Want to own decision, of course, in this way. Be aware and give special attention before even the contract to those 3 points. I told you about the levels, and they are really, really all important. In France, you have to find a good way to put your book everywhere in all the levels. So, is your distributor can go in all the levels? It's not easy to have a good relationship with supermarkets, for example, of course. Are they taking care of the restocking? It's not easy for them, and it costs a lot. And what are their direct costs or their percentage costs? Because the costs are very criticized; they are not clear in the contract here for French publisher. You can find on the web or the professional press lots of examples about some small or medium publisher that have been really killed by their distributor. So it's a pity, it's a shame. Be aware that it's not easy, and from my personal point of view, it's not maybe the good system to try to put your books on the French market. Then that's why I make I make this part more important, the right prospection method. I'm convinced that it's organized and regular, more useful. Oh, sorry, I forgot in this part to give you a link. It's only in French, I'm afraid. Oh no, the website is in English also. This is the site of the French Syndicat National de l'Édition, our lobby. You will find all useful resume about our system of prices or distributing, etc., including the main points, the main contractual points to pay attention to. Price protection method, we'll make it quite quickly. This is what I said. This is mostly to point out some specification for your market and our market, and that, as you are all publisher and you are buying rights yourself maybe, or you are trying to selling rights also, be aware that you know what I'm speaking about. This is to meet people and speak about books. There is some specificities for the French market because we are an important market and all the world are selling some books to prospect. But you can be more efficient if you just do your job with your own habits. To identify the potential of your catalog and to try to make it special for the French market, of course. This is a question of knowledge of the French market. We'll speak a little bit later how to find the publishers, and that's why I was saying just before, trust in your feeling to make the link. And after that, you have to be very patient. As I told you, we receive lots of demands every day. Most of the publishers are suffering for that, and this is quite hard to organize. Don't be afraid of titles who are not obviously for the French market, or maybe too or not too, you are choosing to publish a book in your market for one good reason, and maybe lots of good reasons. Don't forget to make some personal highlights, because this is how people this is a lot of chance to give envy to people to read your book. There is no good recipes. There is not only one recipe on there that can be that can be sold, sell around. Publisher, I will give you another link. and drink. Sorry, my internet is disorganized. I'm copying the link and give it to you right now. This website also is all in English. This is the website called BIF, Bureau International de l'Édition Française. This is Livre Canada Books for Friends. And there is a directory in it, quite updated because of French invitation to Frankfurt this year. You will find out a French publisher. Of course, use website. And one good astuce is to search for French authors that you bought together that are in common, and you to find good publisher that can fit your lines. I'm old in this industry, but still a very connected person, but still a big defender of the book fairs. And I know that for you it could be a problem because it's expensive, because you are far away, plus the jet lag, horrible thing. But well, Paris Book Fair and London Book Fair are quite closed, though, so maybe it's a good solution. London Book Fair, you can meet lots of French publishers, and of course the Frankfurt Book Fair, the French hall is big and you can visit it. You have to organize from till now for the French publisher. They are, as I told you, demanded, but it's a very, very good solution to meet publisher. For those of you who are more specialized in terms of genre, you have lots of medium-sized specialized French fairs for poetry or science fiction or children books or of course comics books. So do not hesitate. They all have, I mean, the medium-sized important book fair for the specialized fields. Have all specific area for the international business. And virtual meetings with video are good to organize, and don't forget to try to fund them through their publishing house. And I do it myself every day, so even with new contacts, and it could help because this is a way. I mean, mail is a good mail and web. Is a problem for every one of us all around the world. We can't organize everything with that. They're a little bit classical and in a human relationship. Hesitate and contact them. Short emails, of course, make them short. Don't try to be on your mail. Try to count out the books one per one. It's or one important topic by mail. It's a nightmare. One more time. Mention these, and I will switch quite quickly from diapositive because you can send, of course, pre-programmed, which is to make a focus on your publishing house. Because I need my diapositive next to this one. Here we are. The problem for you, the specificities due to the problems I related about emails and the impossibility for a publisher to organize his readings or his readers around just PDF. I know that an old-fashioned coming back. It's just bon sens, what we call bon sens. It's logical. You have to find a way to send hard copies, because for important books, we spoke yesterday about maybe print on demand from Europe, but sending books for you is very, very expensive to Europe or France. So we have a problem here to solve, but I can't tell you that sending PDF is sufficient, or ebooks even. My method now is to send this additional material to try to get a confirmation of yes, I want to read this book before sending the book itself in PDF. So you send press reviews, you send some news, exciting news, and step by step you can hold the attention of your publisher with an email. But one more time, be prepared to take your phone, go to the fairs, and have a complete method around that. You can just suffer to, how can I say, low results, but you can just send mails all days and waiting for answers. Fun also, those additional material for me is a way to try to amuse me and my team, and to be creative and exciting for people around who are reading. SEO is easy and modern, and this is a web marketing quite easy to send in every kind of way. I told you you have to be patient, so you have to track your prospection quite regularly. But you can be invasive because people are suffering for that also, and it's not efficient. You will finish in the spamming list of your French favorite publisher. Again, try to include new information about the book. Try to have some quotation in French maybe, and some nice information to send, not all together, because as you have to make some regular reminder, try to make it slowly. Okay, we are quite a little bit late. No, that's okay. We have the last part to go, the negotiation and the contracts. I hope all of you are okay, and that my English speed is not too bad. Negotiation method. We'll see the main offer condition with a few specifications also, and then the three assignments possible: traditional with advance, package and co-edition, and a reminder about digital rights. I always try to negotiate myself those 4 conditions before entering in any extensive contract. It's harder to do it that way, I think so. The advance in France, of course, it's limited to liberty. It can go very high, but try to keep thinking to the union, and you can have a kind of real appreciation of the offer, because you know, for I say, for example, 1,000 copies, what you can gain and what the French publisher can gain, and your author too. Territories concerned, for a French-speaking publisher, we told yesterday to try to split it between territories for the cost of the shipping. But for you English, you can give them the world French territories, or only the Europe French-speaking territories, and so they can make export too in the French-speaking libraries in Europe. But most of the times, of course, the publisher will ask the ancillary rights, and at least the paperback and book club rights. This is a real, how can I say, tradition, more than a tradition, a real part of the business, as we told, to sell them. It can give also a real second chance. It's a real logic in the term of promotion. If the publisher can make a bestseller in hard copy, it can happen, of course. It can try to give a second chance to the book with paperback edition or book club edition. Is very well involved in its market, so it knows very well for its own titles all the French paperback publishers and the actors. So do not hesitate, but you have to negotiate the rate, and I don't give them 50-50 for my part when I'm negotiating some contracts, but I give more than, I try to give 60 or 70% to my clients, and 30 or 40% for the French publisher as a super agent for the original publisher that you are. Of the contract, they have the attitude now, and this is 7 or 10 years. This is my for you, make it not too long. Tick, 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 tick. The different systems that you can make. There are 3: advance fee and co-edition. So the traditional system, and then some royalties. As I told you, free negotiation for the advance, but you can calculate it on the first printing. That it's one of the information that I put in the contract, like a first printing guarantee, and the book price. As it's fixed, you can calculate what the first printing, if it's sold, can and try at least to have always half of the first printing as an advance. French publisher always try to have a fixed rate, but I never signed that, so I always have a royalty scale in my contracts now. It's very fair play. You can't go for literature under 8% in hard format, I mean hard print. I try myself to start at 10. It's quite hard nowadays, and to make a scale till 12 to 12, or in the most successful negotiation to 14%. Okay. The fee system. You'll see if you go further in the French market exploration, in your French market exploration, as I told you, there are lots of little publishing house and independents, maybe for those ones who are making things. You can make a fee system. This is a single payment with no royalty. Be aware that in France it's permitted only for the first single printing, limited to a certain number of copies, and then if you want to reprint, you have to go under contract with a traditional system. And in this case, of course, you can try to have a fee which completely covers the printing. Hope you are a system and the co-edition system. Now, for its specificity, between Canada and France, again, the problem is the shipping and its cost. In a co-edition system, you have to make a package price fixed for each copy that includes all those points. So it's all included, most of times, even royalties. The cost of shipping between our oceans, is very, very high. You can solve that by take proper time in your publication schedule. I mean, if you want to solve that, you have to take the cheapest way to send the books, and it's often the boat. It's most often the boat with cheaper. So you have to plan a big time, and you can't make it for a new publishing house when you have no view for your next year, for example, publication schedule. I make that a very few times. I've met that very often when I was in the Gallimard's group, and I started the Prospection, for example, 2 or 3 years before. Oh, sorry. sorry. Whoops. It's a complicated system. You have to have someone very serious and regular dedicated to it, including in the term of layout and everything. It's valuable for children books and hard books and everything in color, of course, or original fabrication, comic books, etc. But for literature, it's not possible, of course. Up for rights now. French publishers are eager to have them, of course. They will ask you to have them worldwide also. They are now transferred, I mean, not now, but it's definitely sort of. They are transferred in the same contract. I mean, definitely since the very new law. There is one kind of rights. I don't know if it's the same system for you, but authors have to sell their audiovisual rights, movie rights, in a separate contract in France. And when authors and publishers were working on that new law about digital, that was one of the questions. Do we have to make a separate contract? The decision was finally no, but digital rights has to be detailed in the contract, have their own parts, and all the specificities are detailed again. They have the same account statements, but have to be very detailed in prices, saves, etc., etc. And the advance is, of course, a global advance payment. Be aware about that, that you can't negotiate with the French publisher, even if most of the time the advance is global, to give the secondary ancillary rights, but that they are not going under the global advance and they have to be paid separately. Here. Well, now here is a resume of the main points you have to figure out. To be honest, the language and territories for example, the copyright mention was a big discussion yesterday with the French-speaking publishers, because here we have another problem where they are taking some French books from Canada. They want to be sometimes pointing at the original publisher, and they forget to make the copyright mention proper, and they make a copyright mention as the American one with only the author's name, which is not the usage in France. Publication delay because of the translation. You have to be reasonable. 12 to 18 months is sufficient in France. Be aware of that. We don't have your problem of delay, 2 years of scheduling our publication programs so early here. That's all for your specificities. Yeah, I forgot about all the systems because I see the term Incoterm. This is the shipping obligation, and this is an administrative horrible part of the co-edition process. But we have another problem between us is that you are not in our Eurozone, that the payments are complicated to do and expensive. Try to make your contracts paid in one time for the advance, not in two. I know that this is quite common, half at signature, half at publication, but it's not practical, and you need a paper at the beginning of the year. You have to ask for a tax exemption form, which is not so simple to obtain in your country. I know that because of my 4 Canadian French-speaking clients, and for two or 3 months every year we can't have any payment for France, or you have a double taxation, and it costs 20% of the advance, and it's a pity. But well, be aware of that kind of big administrative points that you have to take in this difficult job. It's not fairs and prospecting nice books and telling nice stories. Well, it's a short resume about contract, but we have plenty of time to answer your question. So, merci de votre attention. J'ai oublié de traduire cette diapositive. Voilà, j'ai parlé un peu français. And here is our to find the agency. Thank you very much, and I'll stay at your disposal now. The question.
So we can now open the floor for questions. Just a gentle reminder that we ask you to type your question in the Q&A box down below the chat box in the screen to your right, and Nikki would be happy to answer them.
Alors, tout à vu. Oh, il est où le chat? I saw a question earlier in the chat. Oh, it seems that we have a French-speaking publisher that asks some specificities, but Christy will see that later, and I will answer, of course, if I can.
Nikki, is it worth the effort for an English language publisher to have their sample they wish to pitch translated into French, or not bother?
I'm not sure to understand your question, Christy. I'm sorry.
So if I'm a publisher and I wish to pitch my book,
yeah.
Should I translate a little sample, a little couple chapters maybe in French?
In French, no, because all the French publishers, even they are not maybe able, all of them, to read in English and to appreciate a literary style. Maybe it depends if you want to give easier access, of course. Some are very fluent, including, I mean, the literary aspects. Some will tell you that they can read a few pages and see the story, but they have to get a proper opinion. So yes, it's always help, but be aware, in the same point of view, that if you make a translation, you have to be sure that it's really, really good in the way of the book. every material always helps anyway. It's like, as I told, it's like an extract in French will be read immediately in the mail and maybe will will provoke an immediate answer said by, yeah, send me that. It's quite interesting. And when you have a real relation, as soon as you have that kind of confirmation, so maybe it's easier.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any government funding for translations in France?
Yes. Honestly, the English language is not so helped because is not the most helped language because we consider that it's the most translated one. But I know that there is some help from your side also. But there are some, and I can send you another link called CNL, the Centre National du Livre, French, the National Center of Books. Moment. I think it's in English too. Yeah. See, all official websites are in English. And there are you have all the links where to the helps from the French government. In the French embassy, you have a different system, but it's also explained here in the Centre National du Livre website.
Okay. We'll just give it another moment for any questions.
Yeah.
And if anyone should think of a question after the webinar, if you'd like to send it to either myself or to Nikki, we can ensure that you receive a response. So there's one below, Nikki.
Yeah.
Are there any good distributors that you would recommend for university presses?
No. Sorry. Maybe for university presses. Maybe Harmonia Mundi. Again, they are quite specialized in genre, but they were distributing music and specialized books first. And honestly, I have to sort that. But I will send you a mail about that, Christy, more precise.
Lovely.
But I'm sure that in English directly you can promote yourself directly through the ebooks and web marketing. As you see in science, this is the first ebook sold, so the first genre. So maybe it's a good idea.
Okay. Well, as we've now come to the end of our webinar, I'd like to thank you, Nikki, for such a comprehensive view of the French publishing market. I'd also like to thank the Canada Book Fund, component of the Government of Canada, for the financial support for this event. As a reminder, please complete the evaluation form that will appear at the end. Your feedback is important to us and helps us provide content and programming that meets your export needs. Thanks for listening.